Welcome back to the Foul Line. I'm your host, Connor Black, and with me, as always, is my great co-host, Wyatt Allison.
Hey.
Today, we're going to be discussing something maybe a little darker than we're used to on this show. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I can absolutely agree with this statement.
We're going to be talking about the disappearance of Brian Williams, Bison Dele, whatever you want to refer to him as. But we're going to refer to him as Bison Dele. So, let's get right into it. In his early life, he was born April 6, 1969. He went to college at Maryland for a year from 87 to 88, and then transferred to Arizona from 88 to 91. In 1991, he was drafted to the Orlando Magic. He was standing at 6'11" and 260 pounds. That is a big man.
That's a real center build right there.
Yeah, for real. That's a guy I want on my team.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout his NBA career, he played from 1991 to 1999, a prime time of basketball, basically the Michael Jordan reign. In his career, he averaged 11 points a game, 6.2 rebounds, and 1 block. That's pretty good for a role player in the 90s.
Absolutely.
During his time in Orlando, he was heavily depressed. That was from 1991 and 1993. He really didn't play very much. If he did, it was just kind of bum minutes, I guess you could say.
Yeah, clean-up minutes.
Yeah, basically. He wasn't scoring a lot because he wasn't out there for very long. So he tries to overdose multiple times because he hates it there in Orlando. He wants to get out. So the team decides it's best for him to leave. He ends up going to the Denver Nuggets, and from 93 to 95, averaged 8 points a game. He's starting to get happier, but they don't want to give him a contract because they don't think he deserves it. So he eventually cuts ties with them and is signed with the Los Angeles Clippers. From 95 to 96, he averaged 15 points a game, basically 16 points a game for the LA Clippers, which is great numbers for a guy who just came off of basically 2 years of playing scrub minutes.
That's really good.
So this is where it kind of confuses me because I had no idea who this guy was until 2 days ago. He played for the Chicago Bulls when they won their 5th championship. He actually wasn't picked up by a team until the end of the 97 season when he was picked up by the Bulls just for the playoffs. And he won a championship with them. He was a key part of their championship, actually. So, I mean, do you know that?
No, I did not. And we go back to the Last Dance, all the media we've learned about, and we don't hear anything about this man.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird because in the footage that you see, he's getting buckets. I mean, he's a key player for them. He's actually he's a backup for Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
And none of the footage that you see, you never see him. I don't know. I just thought that was strange.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a reason.
And you see that one picture.
Yeah, and it's a picture of him. I never noticed him in that picture. I've seen that picture a million times.
And I just thought it was another guy on the team.
Yeah, I never knew that.
Manager or something like that. I didn't know.
Because he's wearing a warm-up, so you wouldn't just think, that's a good player. I mean, he's a good player, obviously, he's in the NBA, but you wouldn't think that's a guy's a key player.
Right.
So we move on. He parts ways with the Bulls because, 1, contract. 2, his depressive state kind of comes back in. He actually tried to open a hatch on the team jet and kill himself and the team. That's just not a guy you need in your organization.
No, you can't. You can't chance that stuff.
Honestly, if that's today, this guy's probably not coming back into the league.
No, I doubt he'd get another chance.
But, oddly, the Pistons sign anybody. He's crazy, so it's not surprising the Pistons signed him. The Pistons signed him in the 97 season. They signed him on actually the highest paid contract in Pistons history at the time, which is crazy for a role player. He averaged 16 points a game, and in 98 he changed his name to Bison Dele after a Cherokee tribal leader. and then just suddenly retired at the age of 30 with 4 years left on his contract. Or sorry, he only played 2 full seasons, so 5 years left on his contract.
Mm-hmm.
And he just said he wasn't passionate about basketball, that he had all the money he needed and was just ready to live his life, which is strange in my opinion.
Because I think we can both agree that a lot of people would do anything for $36 million.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of money. You can do a lot with 36 million.
Yes.
But this is kind of when his life kind of just takes a odd turn. I mean, this is an odd guy, as we spoke about. So this is really the tip of the iceberg right here. His disappearance in the South Pacific Ocean. Dele with his girlfriend, Serena Carlin, and with the skipper, Bertrand Saldo, planned to sail from Tahiti to Hawaii on a romantic vacation. Then his brother, who he has not seen in 4 years, Miles DeBard, who is homeless, a junkie, and alcoholic, shows up and says, "Let me come on the trip with you. Let's smash the past and move on." That's strange, right? That's just strange right there.
Yeah, in 4 years, how do you know where he is? Your deadbeat alcoholic brother who's nothing, and who's had a troubled past. Why would you wouldn't even want anything to do with him?
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. But we'll continue. We'll get back to that in a second. After July 8th, that was the last time that they called inland, and no one was heard from after that. And they kept up with their family and banks every day. But suddenly, after July 8th, weren't heard from again. Until July 20th, when only Miles returned.
Foul play.
4 people leave, 1 comes back. Obviously, it looks like a clear-cut suspect right here.
Right.
So in September 2002, so 2 months after this appearance, police detained DeBoard, who had been acting as his brother, buying $152,000 worth of gold and using his passport. So obviously there's motive right there.
Right.
Money. And money and just using him to travel, because obviously he's not going to be able to get a passport. He probably can't pass a background check.
Right.
So they found out he'd been staying in a hotel in Tijuana. 2 days before they found him, they found his brother's boat with plates removed and possible bullet holes covered, which found out later to not be true. And the name had been changed from Hakuna Matata to, I can't remember what his brother named it to. It was something like Aries.
Yeah.
So it just looks worse and worse and worse for Miles DeBoard.
Yes, everything that could point to him does point to him.
Yeah. So Miles calls their mother, claiming he could never hurt Dele and couldn't survive prison. Why do you say that? You can't survive prison.
Sounds self-incriminating.
Yeah. DeBoard was finally found when he checked himself into a California hospital, intentionally overdosed on insulin. They didn't know it was him until he slipped into a coma and died, and they ran their routine fingerprint check, found out it was him. They thought it was just some junkie homeless guy.
Yeah.
Which is what he was.
No, it's a suspect in a murder case.
A triple homicide.
Yeah, exactly.
So, the only witness and or suspect to this crime is now dead.
And like we mentioned, the only one that knows the how, the when, the where, the why, the motive, all of it, and all the answers are just gone. And we have nothing to show for it.
Exactly. So, Miles being the only one who can tell us what happened, this is what let's give a little backstory on this. Miles was in a hotel room talking to his ex-girlfriend, or his girlfriend at the time, ex-girlfriend afterwards. He just was in a panic. He couldn't take it anymore, so he decides to just tell her what happened. And this is all we're left with. Dele and the board got into a fight, and trying to break it up, Dele's girlfriend is struck. She falls and hits her head and dies. The skipper says they should call in the body. Dele panics and kills him. Kills the skipper. The board then shot his brother in self-defense multiple times. Threw the bodies overboard and fled. Another weird thing, it's just your brother, first of all. If this is self-defense and you're just going to kill your brother in cold blood, I can understand like shooting him one time. But it's your brother. You're just going to keep shooting him? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. That's a whole other level of deep, dark, demented.
And if that's the real story, then it's a sad situation. It's a sad situation either way, but if this is the real story, then it's even sadder, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But there's only one person who can tell us, and he has passed on. That's Miles DeBoard. Now, let's get into what we think happened, because nobody can tell us we're wrong.
Yep, we can only form our theories and what we think we can happen.
So I have 3 theories. A, the original theory. A, Miles DeBoard killed them all in cold blood, threw their bodies overboard, just left them.
Right.
Got his brother's money. That was it. Conspiracy 2 gets a little crazier. It's strange that he just pulls out $150,000 worth and buys gold, right? We can all agree that's strange. It's also strange that he hasn't seen or heard from his brother in 4 years, and he just shows up.
He knows where he is.
And he just shows up on a dock in Tahiti and says, "I'm going on this trip with you." Now, it was said that Bison kept up with his brother because he would pay his medical bills and bail him out of jail. But for 4 years, they had no contact. So, my conspiracy is Bison Dele faked his death and paid his brother to do it. So, let's start with showing up on the dock. I think Bison calls his brother up. He's like, "Hey, you're broke, you're homeless, you're a junkie, you're an alcoholic. You have nothing to lose.
And you have everything to gain right here."
Exactly. I'm going to pay you $150,000. We're going to go on this trip. Me, you, the skipper, my girlfriend. And we're going to fake my death. We're going to make everything seem fine for 8 days, 6 days, whatever. And then after that day, we're going to disappear. Whether they had an escape boat or, I don't know, a helicopter or something, we're going to escape. You're gonna go to Hawaii. They're gonna accuse you of murder. You're just gonna say it wasn't you, that you didn't do it, and then you're gonna give the story of self-defense. That way they can't incriminate you, because who's to tell you you're wrong? There's no evidence.
Exactly. Can't arrest somebody that's not there.
Exactly. Now, that theory sounds good and all. I mean, I think that's the one I agree with. Is that the one that you personally agree with?
I do, because at the same time as like Bison Dele, he's been said to that one of the main reasons he retired was to find his sole purpose in life. Well, he's got the money to do that. He's got the resources. He knows people. So he's going to take full advantage of that and try to accomplish that goal. So, I mean, I think after his retirement, when he says he's traveling the world, he could have easily set this whole thing up.
Yeah, I mean, he made it all look good. He took all these exotic vacations and then takes this one, so it's normal. Like, no one's gonna think no one's gonna think anything of it. Now for my third theory. This one, it's a little crazier than the last.
Just a wee bit.
So, I think that, again, they're faking Bison's death so he can get away. But I think that So we said in the beginning, important detail, Bison was 6'11", 260 pounds. That's a huge guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's going to be hard to miss.
Right.
His brother, Miles, was 6'8", and just a little bit skinnier. If they're on this vacation for months or weeks, however long they're on this vacation for, he can come back skinnier, and 3 inches probably ain't that much to notice.
Mm-hmm.
So I think probably that there's a theory that excuse me, that Bison Dele had his brother act as him and use his passport, use his money, and so he could disappear. And the original plan was, alright, you can just say that we're gone, we decided to stay here on vacation, but you're gonna be me now. Like, you can have my passport, you can have my bank accounts, we look enough alike, people probably aren't gonna tell. You can say you and Serena broke up, but we're gonna escape and you're gonna stay here. And I think the only thing that they messed up with is not returning phone calls, because then law enforcement got called because they got suspicious, and he came out by
that makes you look major suspicious.
Yeah, and they came back from vacation, and he was the only one there, and I think that's what killed it. Now that conspiracy is way out there. Like, that one is probably the farthest from the truth. I think the second one is the truth.
I do too.
Like, I truly believe that he faked his death and they just got caught up.
Yeah.
And then the brother just kills himself while in the middle of a police investigation.
Let's say he's in the middle of a manhunt. He flees to a different country to try to hide. Seems pretty suspicious to me.
And then comes back just to overdose.
Yeah, exactly.
And now we'll never know if he killed him, if Bison Dele is escaped and is living in international waters. We're never going to know, because everybody connected to it is gone.
Yeah. Only one person ever knew, and that man is gone.
So, Bison, if you're out there listening, hit me up, let me know. I won't tell anybody.
Secret safe with us, man. We got you.
For real. But all in all, the real truth is probably that Bison Dele's brother Miles was jealous of the fame, the fortune, the people skills, and decided, I want this for myself, and killed his brother, Serena, and Bertram in cold blood.
To take everything he thought he deserved.
Yep. Just to take his own life in a couple months.
Yeah.
So, was it worth it? Probably not.
What do you, let me ask you real quick, what do you think would have happened had he not taken his own life?
I think investigation goes on, because there was no evidence that he killed anybody. There's no blood splatter. There's no evidence that he cleaned it up. There's no evidence that he tried to replace the floors. So,
yeah,
I think eventually they just either give up and say that we don't have enough.
Do you think eventually he would crack open and really tell the truth?
I think he'd take a plea deal.
Mm.
I think they'll probably be like, we'll give you reduced time if you just say you did it.
And to think about that, how none of the families have any closure. And like in the case of the two brothers, the girlfriend and the skipper, none of them have closure. Like they probably still, and you can easily think about that. They still think about this whole horrible thing till today.
Yeah, it's sad, honestly, but now we just live with the theories and not knowing the truth. So I think that's all I got to say on this.
That's all I have to say. I ain't got nothing to add.
This was fun. I really enjoy talking about stuff like this. If we can find any more athletes who disappeared, obviously I don't want that to happen, but if we were to find more stories, I would love to talk about them.
It would be the same, because that stuff is, like, there's always different reasons for that stuff. I mean, whether it's personal stuff, all that stuff. Like, there's always reasons for it.
Yeah, and I love discussing. It's fun.
Agreed.
I just pray that one day we can understand athletes' mental health.
Yes.
So for the foul line, I'm Connor Black. This is Wyatt. We'll see you later.